All right, let's talk Adelaide Oval, Saturday night, Melbourne Demons versus Brisbane Lions. I am frothing at the dinger for this game. I cannot wait. Spit it out. Come on.
The advisors will be here. The champ is here. The champ being us three. We will all be at this game. We will be at this game watching.
That created a little egg.
Before we talk about the game, who do we want to win this game? Like, with our heart, we're going there. We have to support a team.
Brisbane.
I actually find it hard to... probably Brisbane.
I want to support Brisbane.
I'm Team Melbourne. Clayton Oliver, baby.
More, but, name dropping. It was Clayton Oliver's mum that got us a ticket. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Oliver. We appreciate that.
Thank you big time for that. But
what's Mrs. Oliver's first name? No, it's just Mrs. Oliver. We're respectful.
Mrs. Oliver. You got to...
Respectful.
We don't bring that sort of business in here, mate.
Well, no, I want to be respectful.
Nah.
I want to know the person I'm thanking.
Mrs. Oliver is respectful.
Mrs. Oliver, ma'am.
You're an idiot. Anyway, look, I'm gonna be backing Brisbane, but
is that your tip?
Yeah, no, my tip is the D's, but I'd like to see the Lions.
My tip is the D's as well.
I like the Lions. I like Wobbo. I love Wobbo.
I love Wobson.
They've just got a great passion. Games at the Gabba in the last couple of years have been lit. The crowd just gets so excited for good football. And
lit is the word.
And
it is lit.
And I absolutely love it. So I'm going to be tipping the D's here, but I would really love a Lions win as well. I don't think, for me, I can't lose. I'm going into this I just love football.
Here to enjoy.
I just love football.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, I want Melbourne to win because I genuinely think they are the best chance this side of the draw has got against beating Port or Geelong in a grandie, should either of those go through after this weekend. I genuinely think the Dogs are in all sorts at the minute. Brisbane, they're there and thereabouts. They've gone missing and they've had individuals go missing throughout the year.
Just a quick little stat.
Yeah, hit me.
Their last 4 wins. Okay, so they've won 4 of their last 5 games.
They have.
Right? In those 4 wins.
Correct.
Average winning margin, 59 points.
And where's been the average position on the ladder against those teams?
It doesn't matter. They've been trouncing some.
I'm going to have a look and see who they've beaten.
Doesn't matter.
I know who that.
You can only beat who's put in front of you.
That's also true.
And do it strongly.
So they beat the Eagles, in which they really only beat the Eagles in the last quarter.
True.
Because far out.
Also,
but no, they
fantastic. I know you guys weren't watching it. That was unbelievable.
I'm sad I missed
that last couple of minutes.
Whew. All right, they beat Collingwood, who arguably they were battling with Collingwood for the first half. Mm-hmm. All right, who else have they beaten? They have beaten Freo at Optus Stadium. That was respectable. I'll give them that.
And they were in contention at that point too.
And a pulverising.
They lost in Tassie, which they're not playing in Tassie, so that's irrelevant. And they finally, who they beat? They beat Gold Coast. So they beat Gold Coast, in which they were losing the first half. So
I don't care.
Nothing to
pulverising is pulverising.
Very similar to my prediction in the first game. If you give Melbourne a sniff, they are going to hurt you.
It's interesting. Melbourne were out of form badly against the Crows, and they had a pretty poor patch that previous couple of weeks. They were out of form against the Crows, and they still did enough to keep them at bay and then run over the top of them. Mm-hmm. But that's what good teams do when they're getting challenged and they're not quite hitting their straps. They still stay in touch.
Even the best teams in any sport, anywhere around the world, are not going to trounce teams every single week. Some weeks, a shit team is just going to niggle you, and they're going to have your number. And it's up to you to respond, and they do.
And Adelaide did it twice this year against Melbourne. Look, it's interesting. We talk about Adelaide. Must mention, Melbourne's got a record of 7 wins, 5 losses at the Adelaide Oval. Brisbane have a record of 2 wins and 6 losses at the Adelaide Oval, which is an interesting stat. Interesting stat for mine. Duck, as Cameron Ling once famously said.
Did he?
A couple of times. Okay. Indeed. Look, again, I want Melbourne to win because I feel like they're that best chance of going through at that point. But I want Brisbane to win because I feel like that's the natural progression now. They surprised everyone in, 2018 when they just randomly rocked up in finals and they're like, what are we doing here, boys? This is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Did they make finals in 2019?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I reckon it might have been 2019 and 20 you're thinking
2019, they lost to the Giants. That was the year they lost to the Giants.
19 and 20. Apologies, it was a year back. 19, then 20, had that nice run at home, get a bit more finals experience, albeit on the Gold Coast, whatever else. I feel like this is the year now that they need to start putting some wins on the board when it comes to finals. It's not enough to just make them and then bang and you bomb out in the first 2 weeks.
I think
that's not enough.
I think they were better in 2020.
I think they were more consistent in 2020. But also...
last year they went in with the expectations and people were saying, they can't live up to them. They were a 1-year wonder, blah, blah, blah. Well, they've done it, and they've done it again. So...
Well, I put it to you that they are probably a better team this season, even though they've potentially not quite as been so consistent as they were last year. And I genuinely think because last year it was Lachie Neale, like put the boys over the back and carried them to the promised land. Whereas this year it's
Now,
a much
better
more,
without him.
They have been, but it's been much more balanced from all the other contributors. Lions, his best year ever, bar none. Jared Lyons, Dane Zorko having a real renaissance from him. McCluggage had a great start to the season, had a quiet patch, but he's still been serviceable the last couple of weeks.
Zach Bailey
Turned
into a superstar.
Dan McStay, huge. Lincoln McCarthy, huge.
They get Harris Andrews back this week.
Harris Andrews is
Massive.
back this week. Massive. Unbelievably big.
Big Boner Brown is in big boner trouble.
You've got the big boner at one end, and then you've got the human penis at the other end in Joe Danaher,
Absolutely.
who's also been good. Nakai Cockatoo has randomly decided to, guys, my legs work again, and I'm back playing footy.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
good's this shit?
Absolutely.
They've been such a more complete team. I would love to see Brisbane win, but I don't think they're going to do it. I'm going for Melbourne. Because
I'm going for Melbourne too. And you're
I'm going
for
Melbourne 1 to
And
39.
I'm holding this up even though you can't see it, but it says at 8 p.m. at 6 to 8 p.m. is a big chance for some light rain in Adelaide. Does that change your prediction?
There'll be heavy rain from a carbonated beverage going into my gullet hole. Let me tell you that much.
It'll make things interesting if it does rain because that just levels the playing field for every team everywhere. The shit teams become terrible and the good teams become terrible as well. So
I agree.
It's good.
I agree. It'll make it very, very interesting. Hopefully, we're in the shade. I believe we are because we're up in the stands. Just thought I'd secretly put that out there.
Go where I walk.
We are.
Fingers crossed for Clary's mum getting us some good spots.
I feel like that we have already seen this game played at Giant Stadium. Right, we've seen what happens. Brisbane had the upper hand for the first half. They were dominant, really. Like Melbourne didn't have much of anything. They didn't have anything for Brisbane. But then Melbourne clawed back. They actually outscored Brisbane that second half. I just checked then by 7 goals. I feel like something similar could happen. I feel like it's very similar to when we talk about Geelong. Sometimes Brisbane go missing. Melbourne are going to strike. Oh, there we go. I did drop my guts just then.
You're gross. You are gross. I'm very interested to see who drops the head because I promise you at some point that during this game, Brisbane will drop the head. And we've seen them when they drop the head that they will run out a good 2-3 quarters of a match just with absolute poo.
And then they'll come out and kick 7 goals and they'll still be
randomly
4 behind.
If they do that against Melbourne, I don't see.
I don't think it'll be like that in finals footy, but they didn't drop their head against Melbourne when they played that time at Giant Stadium. They were just outplayed.
One thing I will tell you.
Ran wild.
One thing I will tell
Dan,
you.
final thoughts.
One thing I'll say. Right, Melbourne will not come into this game with a dropped head. They will absolutely be riding on a high. That kick after the siren last week, Des, to win them the minor premiership. Oh. Do you know how many times they have won a game with a kick after the siren in their history?
I don't know. Tell me.
Prior to that game, donuts.
Do you know what's very interesting?
2,373 games since their 1897 inception and had never won a game with a kick after the siren. The big cock, Max Gawn, steps up, seals the deal.
Do you remember
they
the
will
time?
be coming in higher than any team has been in history, mate.
Well, remember the time Zach Tui actually kicked the goal after the siren in the same position for Geelong to win?
I do.
That's very interesting. I actually think Melbourne might be the most, in my memory, the most scored against team after the siren. I can think of like 3 or 4. I reckon Giants did it one time.
Carlton
have words about
Carlton copped it in the poop.
Right. Carlton don't count. Carlton aren't a team.
All right, what are we doing bets-wise?
Bets-wise, let's all bet. So Melbourne?
Yeah, Melbourne.
D's. Melbourne, D's. Consensual consensus. All right, let's talk bets. Cozzy Pickett. Lettuce Pickett. Put him down for an anytime goal. That man's going to froth on the big stage, and I'm loving it. I'm also keen for Christian Petracca anytime goal as well. I think the big bull is going to relish the big stage, going head-to-head against the league's best, and you watch him stat him up. Speaking of track attack, Trackistan. No, I won't go there. No, I won't go there. Professional. Petracca, 25, fine. Dane Zorko, 25, fine. And in terms of goals, I also like Dan McStay and Lincoln McCarthy, my guys. Anytime goals on those two. Those two have been killing it lately.
Yep.
Killing
100%.
it lately. So, Track, Pickett, McStay, Lincoln McCarthy, goals. Track and Zorko, 25 each. That's paying $11.
I also like Zach Bailey for an anytime goal here. $1.45. He's a big game player. He's done it multiple times. I could actually see him kicking a bag because that's just what he does.
Old snack pack Bailey.
Absolutely.
Snack pack.
Big snack pack.